Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I guess sort of my traditional greeting, depending upon what time of day you consume your media. Welcome to Run It Back. This is episode number 86. I really appreciate you guys joining in, listening, watching, however you consume your media, as I said. The premise of this show remains the same. So first off, I'm your host, Menelik Fernandez. Welcome. But we take teams that have played previously and we run the game back, so to speak. So we talk about preparation, we talk about in-game adjustments, we look at film, and we talk about what we like, what we didn't like, if we would do the same things, if we would change anything in the process. And we sort of grade ourselves, I guess, a little bit too. You know, they say hindsight is 2020 looking back. So today we're taking a look at a game from October 10th, 2021, which is between, I'm not going to say these properly, Gevi Napoli versus Treviso. And we have my friend Cristian Narciso joining us today. Cristian is actually going to take a bit of a unique perspective on this game, one that is near and dear to me because currently I'm doing some scouting myself professionally in China. So it's kind of neat. Cristian was a scout for this game. Cristian, give me a second here. I'll try to give you a warm welcome here and do a little bit of your background. Cristian is currently a data scout with Sports Module Limited. He is been a director of player development with Locked In. He has been a basketball coach with Azura Basketball Oristano for a year and a half. He's been a basketball coach with Falcon Basketball Club, which was a full-time job for a year where he did head coaching of U17 boys, U15, U13, U11 girls, and U6. So all over the place in there for sure. Was a basketball coach with Born Basket Foden, which was a part-time one in Copenhagen. And I'm going to skip ahead. There's a couple more here. A basketball head coach with Vegen Basketball Club, which he did for almost 2 full seasons. He is, of course, a licensed teacher as well. So he did some physical education teaching and was a head coach for mini basket, 5 through 8 years old with Trisana Basket. And I'll give you one more here because there's a bunch on your CV. Basketball coach with ASD Real Napoli Basket full-time, head coach for the U16, U18, U20 teams in there. And he's got 2 or 3 more on this one, but it's a lengthy CV for sure. So Cristian, welcome. Thank you for joining me on Run It Back. I've kind of been chasing you a little bit and been following you from afar for a little bit. So I'm really excited to sit down and learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Menelik. Thank you for having me here. And I'm really excited about this because, yeah, we've been following each other for a while. So it's very exciting that we got to sit and talk together. And I could add only a little bit about my curriculum. Also about I started with the second best league, with the women's league in Italy, with the Gevi Napoli Basket. It's everything in my town in Naples. So that I'm really proud of mention. So
love it. Yeah. My apologies for skipping over it.
No, please. Thank you.
So let's start here. Give us a little bit of a background about this league, this game, where you are in the season, and I guess we could go from there. For those of us who don't know, where Gevi Napoli and Treviso would play, give us the rundown of that league and those teams, etc.
Yeah. All right. First of all, I've been telling you I'm a proud scout of my hometown team since the time we were in the really first places in the first league. LBA is a first league, Italian first league, and we came back after 13 years. So actually, the reason why I was scouting this game was our first win during this season. So it was time to celebrate. We live basketball with a really big passion, right? As much as other sports. Also with football, you would know about Naples and Maradona and all this stuff. So a little bit of background here. It's the LBA right now. It's a really good level league, and actually there are many imports from the US. Actually, in this game, we both have We have Harry Sims that was playing in NBA with the Philadelphia 76ers. So we have a bunch of American guys that are really good at playing. And in this league, actually, right now, I've been talking about this scouting, which was one of the first games of the season, I think the third one. And right now we are halfway through the season, and actually it's very tough league because Naples has been reached the third spot in the league like a few weeks ago, and now it's out of the first eight. So it's crazy.
Oh
There
wow,
are like
yeah,
10 teams on the same with 14 points. So it's really tough
a lot
competition.
of movement for sure.
Yeah. It's a lot. Actually, when I was talking about that game, it was the first game that was like four in a row, something like that. And then afterwards, after two losses, now they're out of the Coppa Italia because the first eight teams are qualifying for the Coppa Italia for the final cup season, which is actually going to be held in a week or two. And yeah, so actually the two teams have been facing each other already. So actually this scouting was it's the third game they played against each other, because the first two were in the qualification of the
Right.
another Super Cup, which was at the beginning of the season. And it was kind of a pre-season tournament because even though they were winning the Super Cup, like many teams were not ready, were not with the American imports, and it was a little bit tough. Even though both Naples and Treviso were with the older Americans on the court, so they had the really tough games. And actually, the scout is based on two games that they play against each other, and
Right.
one game that is before the game with Naples again. That was the third of the championship.
So
So
couple questions about the structure. First, is there relegation in this league?
yeah, there's relegation for the last two teams, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
And yeah, and there is always one team or two teams moving up. So actually, Naples was one of the two teams that moved up in the LBA last season. So it's really great for them to be back to the best league, because it's where they
Sure.
were belonging for a long time. So
For sure. And then my second question would be sort of how does the imports rule work over there? Like how many can you play? How many can you dress for games? All that kind of stuff.
well, there is the rule of 6+6, so
Okay.
you can have six imports and six from like Italian.
Yeah.
And actually, for example, if you have been following a little bit of EuroLeague, you know that there is Olimpia Milano, which is last year was in the final four of the EuroLeague.
Right.
And they have way more than six. Obviously, they play with some six in the championship, and with the EuroLeague they play with others. So they kind of make, like that. And most of the teams they have six imports. Yeah.
Okay. And you can play any of those six at any point during the game.
Yeah. There's no restriction about the minutes. It's just about who is in the game. So you can have also 7 or 8 imports, but in that game you have to have 6.
Okay. So let's move into the game and your process then. You mentioned you're a couple games into the regular season. You mentioned that you played a couple times in the rounds previous that are kind of like a preseason type deal. When do you start this process for the scout? What goes into your scout? What does a scout look like for you, sir?
Yeah. All right. First of all, I was lucky enough to, I'm in Sardinia right now, which is an isle of Italy, which is not really close to Naples, because I'm a pro basketball coach here. And I was lucky to scout the first preseason tournament. It was between Naples, Bayern Munich, and Baskonia, Saski Baskonia, and Dinamo Sassari. So there were 2 Italians team, and there were Andrea Trinchieri as head coach of Bayern Munich, and there was Fontecchio, one of the Italian players of Baskonia. That's why they made this tournament, which is a yearly tournament. So I was there following, like Naples had the first two imports like there for a couple of days before, so it was not really, they were running things really at the beginning, so mostly they were like the sets were not very clear, so I was following since that day.
Right.
And then when they started with the Super Cup, they played really like with the full players, and and they were actually losing against Milan first game. Second game also they got a loss, and then they had this game against Treviso. So when they, I guess also talking with the assistant coach, because I've been actually the assistant coach of the team are also my friends. So we were talking a little bit about that and what they were trying to achieve. Actually, Naples, the goal of the season is to stay in the LBA. It's not even to push forward. So actually, what they're doing, it's really great because also they brought back some ex G League and NBA player, Jeremy Pargo. So they're trying really hard also to manage with their budget to stay in the league. And actually, right now they're kind of surprising. But I told you, it's so tough that you can be from the third place to the 14, which they are right now. So it's
and not very much difference. It's really marginal between,
actually the same points as the sixth best. So it's just like running out of differences of points. They're not in the first eight. So as a scout, as you were asking me, most likely I'll start always from the video. If I have some stats before to know who I'm looking at, above all, for example, in the first games against Treviso, I was looking at Henry Sims, which is one of the most valuable players in the league. So his valuation is the fourth best player in the valuation. In US, I would say PER, PER. So first of all, I'm looking at the three best offensive players and defensive players, because in this case, Henry Sims is also the best rebounder of the league. And then there's Dwayne Russell, that is the best stealer. So obviously my points at the beginning is like, okay, who are we playing against? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses?
Right.
And starting from that, then the video is going to be easier because I'm starting mostly from the offensive part of the, so I want to see all the sets, a couple of inbounds. Actually, I don't focus too much on the inbounds and also on the after timeouts unless it's not a tough game. So I'm pointing more on what's where they go on the comfortable way to get their advantages. So I want to look at that.
Their player tendencies type deal.
Yeah, their player tendencies too. Yeah. So yeah, mostly when I start to scout is about that, and then when I have to shoot the players is a little bit different. It's a little bit more detailed on the part of the scouting because if I have available, I have the depth chart. I can see their tendencies. For example, I've been doing this work for another job interview actually last season for the Newcastle Eagles. I was looking at the Leicester Riders, and so I was checking all the stats. Actually, they have a lot of stats there. So I was checking really deep into the depth chart of every tendency of where they're shooting, most of their shooting, which part of the court. So it's kind of, a little bit tricky. And I told you, I'm not like a stat guy. I'm not there to look at the stats for many hours. I just want to see a picture of how the team is playing. But then, I'm most likely going on the video and then checking also if they have some defensive rules, if they do the rules of switching, for example, of they drop coverage, or if they make a hard show. So it's something that I really look at the beginning. And then mostly I'm trying to do 5 up to 8 minutes if I have to shoot our players. So it's gonna be with a little bit of stats, and then the rest is going to be divided by offense, defense, and then a special situation. In the offense, I put some inbounds, as I said before.
Right.
On defense, in case there is some run and jump or some 2-1 defense, zone press, or whatever. So that's so the player are ready to know what is going on. And normally, also in the practice, when I was with the first team, with the women's team on the Thursday before the Sunday, we were actually playing their plays, and our adaptation on that. So it was video, and then it was the whole practice about our opponent.
Interesting. So I've got a couple questions from there. I'll start here. First off, if I'm not mistaken, Leicester Riders on the women's side, one of the coaches is Ashley Cookson, or used to be, and he's a friend. So I'm going to give a shout out to Ashley just because your name came up. And then
How's in
moving
Sweden,
on.
right?
Pardon me, sorry?
Is he in Sweden right now? Am
I believe so.
right?
Yeah, he was in Canada for a little bit, and I think he's moved on to, and he's supposed to do my show. Actually, I gotta bother him a little bit to get on here as well. I'll tell him his name came up today. But that being said, moving on to the process, there are assistant coaches on this team as well, correct? In addition to the scouts. So let's talk about, like, you've mentioned sort of like what your process is. You take a couple games, you give a little bit more weight to the games that they played each other previously. You definitely look at player tendencies. You throw in a little bit of like some of the sets, like, the half court stuff, and then the blobs, slobs, ATOs, they get in there as well. And you come up with this video, 5 to 8 minutes, let's say. And then you're presenting this how? Like, you send it to the assistant coaches and they talk about stuff and ask you to add or subtract from there, or is your part of the whole process done there?
Well, that that depends obviously of the head coach that I'm using, or that I'm working with, that I'm collaborating. So mostly when there is this touch with the assistant coach, I can just be a help to them.
Right.
That depends also of their process. Most likely, if I'm doing a scout who is asking me to do it, they trust me. So
Right.
actually, if they're gonna change something, probably they will stay with the whole work and then changing just what they serve them, or if they have another point of view on what to do. For example, I can give a suggestion about how to disrupt their offense, or how to get advantages against them, but then it's up to the coaching staff. So
Right. Do you produce a paper copy as well in addition to the video?
well, let's say that I make a paper copy of what I'm doing. So right now also I have a paper when I'm writing all the things, also because
Right.
it keeps me kind of trained,
Right.
do everything with the computer. Sometimes when it's all there, then you start to forget things. Instead, when you write it, it's a little bit different. At least that works for me. That depends always on the request. Sometimes they ask me only videos. Sometimes they ask me with also paperwork, let's say.
Right. And what are you using to amalgamate everything? Like, are you a synergy guy? Are you an Instat guy? Are you a huddle guy? And then when you go through the video, how are you putting everything together? Are you using iMovie? Like, what's it all for you? What's your process with that?
Well, actually, I'm opening myself to something different, because I'm a really old stuff guy. I'm writing, I'm going, and then with the first video editor I have, I'm fixing my videos. Actually, I don't have a Mac, so here I'm working with Windows. So most of the things are run by that. But then I told you, it's like it's helping me to get through the process and to get the work. Instead, for example, with Synergy, sometimes I get my videos sent by some friends. For example, Rob Voice, that he sent
Yeah, there we
me
go.
actually a couple of yeah. Sometimes I'm breaking him like, hey, help me out with that. So we really help each other. Actually, I think he has a master class sooner
He
or
does today,
later.
right now, with basketball immersion.
Yeah,
He's
right
on it
now.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was teasing him a little bit about it today. Shout out Rob, former guest, great guy. Talk to him often.
Now he's a mastermind.
He is. He is. He's he's
Yeah, but he
mastermind
has been
apparently now.
really helpful. Also, he's really great at scouting. So I've been probably more pro coaching in my career than scouting. I've been scouting at the beginning of my career, and then when you're a full-time basketball coach, it's a little bit hard to find time for that. But then I always try to keep myself trained, also
Right.
because you know that's the point to get to be hired as a head coach. You have to know your things, so you have to keep practicing. You have to stay on the video scout as much as you know. Also because the game is changing, and every I don't know. I think also the level is different. For example, I've been working even to follow back and beers in Denmark because I've been coaching professionally 3 years there in Denmark. So you're always looking up at the level, the best level you have in that country. So now I'm obviously pointing out on the Italian league because I'm here now, and I'm lucky also to scout their games. But I'm pretty open also. I told you I was checking on the UK, the first league. I was scouting Leicester. So it's something that really keeps me going with my passion, and also it's like you learn it. I think it's we never finish to learn in this game because
Well,
so
I mean, you said it keeps you sharp, and I couldn't agree more because the process is always interesting to me, right? Because it's so different for every team and for every coach. I mentioned to you before we started, I've started doing some scouting this year with a pro team in Taiwan, and Enrico is actually on the call. Enrico is doing the same with me, and it's, I mean, so much of it is just the organization. Like, okay, you taking this, we're taking this.
yeah.
How are we going to break it down? What do we want to put in? And I find two real big challenges, and correct me if I'm wrong if you don't see them as being the same thing. The first challenge is the communication with the coach, because when you're an assistant, you're usually there in person. So you're going to see your coach often,
Yeah.
and there's going to be constant communication, whereas when you're a scout, especially remotely, you're not going to
Yeah.
see them as much, so it requires a little bit more detail as to, well, I want this but I didn't want that, change it to this way, do it like this, that kind of stuff. I find that part challenging. And the second part that I find challenging to the whole process is I just lost my train of thought. That's unbelievable. The second part I find challenging in the whole process is just the communication back and forth. Elaborating on the first point, just like being able to get things to them in a timely manner and making sure that it's in the order that they want. And then, sorry, the second part, my brain came back to it finally. The second part is knowing your own team. This is a big one for me because you spend so much time looking at the film of the other teams in the league and doing their scout. So then sometimes your coach will be like, all right, so then who should we play to match up with that? And it's like, oh man, I only know like three guys on our team. I don't know like who's good at that
Yeah, I
kind of
understand your
do
point.
you find that like knowing your own team has been a challenge ever, or are you so familiar with the league at this point that it's not?
Well, look, the familiarity with the league is there. I mean, I know the players. I know also because most of the imports are kind of coming back and changing teams among themselves. Is something that I've been seeing also in other leagues. But yeah, I can relate to you when you're there. It's also the feeling of how you can get. For example, if I want to put this guy in this matchup against this other guy, you have to know also how is his motivation, how is characterly. So it's something that you have to stay in practice. You have to stay
Yeah,
in practice.
you're not there seeing them every day, right? You don't really get that feel for the player the same way.
Yeah, but that's the role. If I'm a scout, I can just give tips on what I can see right now. But obviously, those validation, if I'm not in the coaching staff, it's hard to make. So
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
also it's about the role. But yeah, of course, if I would be in the coaching staff and I would be the head coach or the assistant coach, um, I would take this thing from the scout and then adapt if it's possible. Not only about basketball direction, but also about the motivation and psychology of the players on how to play, how to run some matchups, for example.
So that being said, let me follow that a little bit. Having done both, been, a coach and been a scout,
Yeah.
do you find that your game preparation, like what you put into your scouting report, is different when you are a coach versus when you're a scout?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. When I've been with a women's team, it's totally different to be on the court and know what's going on every day at practice. So you have a different eye. And also, yeah, now as a scout, making a step back, let's say, it's I understand some information they don't want, because it's like, okay, that was not useful when I had it. So
Right.
you know a little bit the difference. Still, it's a challenge. You're not on the court, you suffer.
For sure. I try to keep everything succinct right now and actionable. Like I don't see a lot of use in being like, this guy's athletic. It's like, all right, but like, who cares? Like, what does that mean I have to do to guard him type deal? Like, thanks. But tell me he goes right 75% of the time, and now I understand what I have to do for sure. So then when you are a scout, would you say that that things like matchups don't really get put in and you leave that to the coaching staff?
I can give suggestion. I mean, if it's in my demands, of course I'm gonna tell it, because I'm as a scout, I'm working as like I'm coaching staff. Okay, then it's up to them if to change anything. As I told you before, it's like I do my job as if I was the head coach or the first assistant coach. Then obviously my word is taken differently, as it's normal.
There's a portion here that I usually get into about like in-game adjustments and all that kind of stuff. So obviously if you're scouting, especially remotely, you're not going to be part of that process. But I'm curious, do you watch the games and make notes of the games and then give those notes to the coaches later on? So like, would you comment on, depth charts or matchups or playing style, any of those kinds of things? Would you be paying attention to?
Well, I will focus mostly on the matchups more than depth charts or other statistical thing. I will go more for to see if our guy if our key of the game was to, for example, I don't know, we want, in this case, it was Parks or J Rich with Gevi Napoli to get out of the screen 5-2 to get the shot, then we will know for the next game if we can apply that against a similar team. So above all, like when you're at that level, every 3 days you have a game, or every 5 days you have a game, you have to be prepared already for the next one when it's finished. So you need a feedback for what did work and what didn't work, and if we can work on that. So
like it. So will you, that post-game report, will that just be something as simple as making notes, or will that be like, you'll throw in video and it'll be extensive and you'll fire that off to the coach type deal? How much time do you spend on that?
Well, I've been doing both. That's why I'm I don't know. Right now, I'm making notes. Before I was making videos, like post-game videos, and it's like 2 minutes of like, okay, this worked, this didn't work, and normally I put that also in the video for the next game. So actually, what I would add to the scouting, normally that's why I say 5 to up to 8 minutes, because I would put probably something on the what didn't go well last game, what did go well. So I would add that as a scouting process in the game plan for the next game, let's say.
Okay. All the things that your coach has as part of his style, like if he wants to play up tempo, or if he's okay with quick shots in transition, if he sends 3 to the glass instead of 2 to the glass, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Do you, at the beginning of your process, do you ask all of those questions right up front so that you have a base of how you want to play, or do you kind of let those things come out throughout time, throughout the season?
Look, depends also the relationship you have. with the head coach. It's
Right.
more about if you don't know the person, you're starting to just see how it's working.
Right.
And that's what I did in the past, for example. Then if you have some kind of relationship, you already have been working. So it's like, hey, are we on the same page on this? It's like, you want this work to be held like this or not? So it depends also how you relate with the head coach. Mostly it's about relationship. So
The reason that I asked that one is like a specific example comes to mind where it's like, let's say, we're going into the game and you're thinking you should be switching 1 through 5,
yeah,
and the coach is trapping or hard hedging up the floor type
yeah,
deal. If you don't know what is within his realm of what he wants to teach, it makes it a little bit more difficult to suggest things, or those suggestions get ignored. And I'm just kind of wondering what you explore first versus what you are putting in there as suggestions.
yeah. That's a good point of yours. I told you depends a little bit also on the relationship you have. But yeah, of course, asking about how is the type of playing, but only if you're not part of the coaching staff. Because if you're part of the coaching staff, more or less you understand what's going there because you're there at every practice. And
Yeah,
actually, it's also fun sometimes because I think we have very different coaches in general. So sometimes it's hard to make it work because it's like, wow, I would with this team I would play high tempo. I would really exploit every transition game and play less on the set plays. And then probably you have that coach that is totally on another way of thinking. So it's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky, and yeah, I think at the end communication is the key. But only if after some games things are not clear between the two parts, and you want to
right.
help the team to have success, because even if you're the last one on the wheel, you want to have success.
For sure.
That's your
Absolutely.
motivation.
Everybody wants to be lifted up. That's the whole point of this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
Even like, I mean, even if you make suggestions and your coach doesn't want to go with your suggestions, you don't want him to fail. You still want
Yeah, yeah,
him to succeed. It's just he didn't take your suggestion. That's all.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so
You live up with it. It's like you put down also your ego. It's like, hey, okay, it's my job. I did my job, and
well,
for the
what's
best.
always interesting to me is to see if his way then in fact works, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, I
Also,
didn't see it that way.
better.
He did it that way. It worked. That's interesting. I didn't think that. You can't sit there and bash him because of it type deal.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
no.
so let's move from general to specific a little bit here. For this particular game, you touched on it briefly, but what did you sort of identify as being the advantages? What did you want to capitalize on against them?
Okay. First of all, as I told you, we had I say we had Jason Rich, and Parks that are the best scorer in the league. Actually, Jay Rich is the um, take second or third best for 3-point percentage with
Right,
46%. And
right,
then we have Parks, which is one of the leading scorer of the league. So obviously, making them receive the ball above all Parks in a post-up situation. I think that's the most important thing. And what I've seen also from the coach, Sacripanti, was totally doing that, actually making a lot of adjustments, not even in the place he sets, but he wanted always the big man to go to screen for the number two and coming out of the screen like a curl to receive in the middle of in the paint. So
right.
it's like a lot of situation like that, which I've seen done also with the McDuffie. So most of the advantage were there, and I think also in this game that was won also on the defensive end mostly. On that side, the offense worked like that, and on many adjustments they've been trying to make, which mostly was like following and trying to help and recover. They were not switching because there will be too much mismatch.
Right.
So I think it worked. Have you have seen the game, so you know
I
what I'm
have seen
talking
the
about.
game. We
And
have some clips. We're gonna get into film in
yeah,
in a few minutes here. I don't know if I mentioned this, but you said that you're actually from Treviso originally, right? Or you really
No, I'm
know?
from Naples.
Okay, so uh, just for my brain here, where is Gevi from? They're from Naples.
Gevi Napoli, yeah,
Yes.
against the NutriBullet Treviso.
No, I understand. I'm just saying where are these two cities in
These two
the
places you want to know in Italy
yeah,
where
sorry,
they
I'm not
okay.
familiar with the geography of it.
Yeah, Naples is south of Italy, and Treviso is up north. North,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
north. West.
All right. Well, if anybody has questions, please feel free to jump on. If not, I'm going to jump into a little bit of film and ask you sort of what you see. Of course, keeping in mind that you're watching as we're watching, but give us the rundown of what you can in terms of any of these sets, etc. What you think, if you guys are executing well, any of that kind of stuff. So, uh, as I said, I'm going to play each clip 2 or 3 times. I'm going to try to describe everything. Can you see this? Okay, is this okay?
Yeah.
And it's smooth for you.
Not smooth, but I can see. Yeah,
No?
that's one of the situation where J Rich is going to receive the ball in
Perfect.
the.
So let me try and give a description, and then you can kind of take us through. So I mean, the ball's brought up. It's one of the earliest sets in the game.
Yeah.
It's a screen away. The ball's brought to the offensive right slot. A screen away.
It's
He
a fake
catches it in the
stagger,
center.
yeah, where he's going up, and then they're
Catches.
moving just to give Elegar, the big man, to go to set a screen for Jason Rich. Obviously, being Jason Rich is going up to receive the ball, kind of always. Instead, if it's the screen is for Parks, normally it's going downside to receive the ball in the post up, low post up.
Like it. So what do you think you guys are trying to establish? Do you run it well? Are there any options out of this that you don't mention here? Just give me the rundown sort of the set.
Yeah, like this is the advantage we want here, or at least what the coach has been trying. Otherwise, the ball is going out. Actually, I don't know if you took some clips afterwards. J Rich is not able to take the shot, so he's going out and then playing pick and roll, giving the ball back to the point guard. So here, obviously, having a big man like Helegar that is always there. Taking rebounds. Actually, Elegar is not a big man for Naples anymore because he got a bad injury, so he was out for the season, and we had to take someone else in that role. But he was doing that job really greatly because he's a phenomenal rebounder. So also there on the screen, you see, like on defense, they're not switching. They're trying to bump, but he cannot because he's going really high, and that's where the advantage is. Then here there is a mistake because he's not following. Bortolani is not following his man, so the big man is wide open inside. There, as I told you, Jeric normally is giving the ball away out and then playing a pick and roll. Normally is the sharpshooter to take the ball out of the pick and roll.
Love it. I'll move on. We got this is just a transition one. Defending it was the question on this. I believe it's just an empty side drag that ends up with a lob to the rim. Talk to me about where you think the breakdown is and how you guys would like to guard this in transition. For anybody who's listening, basically they just bring down on the offensive left slot. They kind of ghost the screen. Ends up a 2-on-1 on the defender who's dropped a little bit. They throw the lob over top and he goes and gets it. So talk to me about the in transition drag here. How would you defend it better?
Yeah, well, I would. I'm a big fan of stopping the ball really early. So here, just the fact that Mayo is going backwards is not helping the transition big man to come back. Right. Here, there was a clear message to Elegar to go really strong on Russell to make strong edge, kind of the whole game, if you have seen. And obviously in transition, you cannot do that with the empty side on the same side. So probably first thing is Mayo to push further the point guard to not attack as he wants on the side. And then normally McDuffie, which is the guy on the weak side, to put it more deep into the paint. So in that case, if Elegar is very aggressive, we have someone to take that. That guy. So and normally we roll with the J Rich behind. So of course on the transition, in that it's a little bit conservative. Also because we have Bortolani, which is a great shooter there. This game actually is scoring quite a lot. Which was the key of the game also because all the others didn't score quite well. And
sorry, for you personally, what's sort of like your transition philosophy? How would you want everything to be stopped?
Okay. As my transition philosophy, I would make the guards going really early to stop the ball. Right. And to allow our big men, because probably we will have only one big man, to run back into the paint. So mostly I'm a real bit, let's say I work less on the balance on the offense, but I want the ball to be stopped really early. So actually in that case, I would be really upset for how the point guard was running the transition because he had nobody to stop him.
And would you influence in a particular direction in transition?
Okay, talking of here we have Russell on the I would bring him probably to the same side on the left side. Yeah. Even though he's going to have a pick and roll on and going on his hand, so probably I would probably push him on that side. But as I told you, with Elegar going back probably with a drop pick and roll there, and then be ready with the other guys to anticipate to deny any easy pass for the shooting. So then it's a big responsibility for the point guard to stop the ball because he has to be athletic enough to get Russell, which is a very fast point guard.
Right. Next one, my note just says rolling on the single side. Let me refresh here. This is another defensive clip, sort of in a half court. There's a zipper cut up the center of the floor, and then there is a couple circle cuts on the top side of the floor here, so the offensive left side of the floor. Yeah. We move the ball left, we throw it in on the lob, and he's way more open than he should be. And just
actually it's because they read well. I think they read well with this cut of number 9 Kelo, because they know that Elegar is gonna go for a really strong edge, which actually he didn't do quite well because the ball would not get out that easily, and Mayo probably gonna anticipate on that pass. I'm guessing that here also is Lombardi with number 1, which didn't get there on time, and Mayo had to switch back to his on the corner. So here, I would do the same exact choice on the pick and roll, but here on the number 1, I would anticipate denying the first pass because it's the strong side pass, and that there you cannot receive the ball to get the ball there. Get me here? Yeah. This one. So the first this pass after pick and roll.
Just get the notes here just to. This gentleman needs to step up more to deny the pass, is what you're saying.
Yeah, also because he's calling, he sees the screen. Yeah. So he can call to Mayo, or actually also switching there because the screen is a play screen probably, and Mayo in that case would be able to anticipate and deny that first pass.
And for you, he should be hedging higher, basically, is what you're saying. Yeah. What about this gentleman here? Are you guys a tagging or a non-tagging team? Should he be meeting it or should he be staying? And is that based upon?
It's based mostly on who you're guarding. If here we have a shooting player like we have right now, he cannot go any further, but depends also on what is our goal. For example, here having Jones inside, it's fine this position. If we would have probably Sims, that would be different. So
right. And would you find so like they would probably have sorry, you guys would have this set, I would assume, going in. This is an action that you've seen a few times before. And this would be a scout specific thing, like you were saying, the tag in versus the tag out. Would you identify something like this to your coach as like, hey, this might be a dangerous thing for us, so in order to counter, we need to bring number one out earlier type? Would this be something that you would talk about, or would this be one that you would just be seeing in game and be like, we need to adjust that and hope they catch it?
Well, depends how many times it happens against us.
Right.
Because if that happens quite often, well, it's becoming a case and something to work on. But I would leave that as the in-game adjustment, honestly. Also because
Right.
I think it's one of the fewest that they have been running like that.
Interesting. My note says up the guy action. I think I meant up the gut action off of a pin down. We got a comment in here. Who we got? Intermetallic voice said recording. Screen seems like it's pretty high. Would you consider going under, according to Mike? I'll bring it back, Christian. I think I think Mike is talking about this first on ball one here that you said should be maybe hedged. Would you consider going under this here?
Yeah, because it will be higher. But I think the mistake comes there because Elegar doesn't know if he can push right there, because he has been instructed to go really strong on the edge. But here was really higher. Also, Bortolani is a shooter, so okay, probably he could have gone up and wait for the rescreen, then to hard edge.
So I'm sorry, Christian, this is a little bit off of what you just said, but you said he's instructed to hedge here. You would then classify this as a poor hedge, right? Like he did not get up.
Yeah. Because also,
because that to me just looks like an at the line, a show, and up to the touch, whatever you want to call it.
He didn't make any decision in this moment. He just was going to edge, but then he recognized it was too high the screen.
Right. Gotcha. Good, Mike. You like that?
It's also Mike.
Yeah, Mike the Cracker's in here. Dominating the chat as he likes to do. All right. What do we got here? We got an over the top action. So like an Iverson cut coming from the offensive left to the offensive right. We enter the ball to that slot. We make a corner cut, and then underneath we've got like a fairly aggressive pin down in the center of the floor. So this is the up the gut action that I call. And I really like this. I'm going to implement this cut. This is just basically as he's coming off, he stops at about the free throw line and curls that screen hard, gets an advantage, gets to his strong hand, and finishes the basket. So talk to me about the set. Talk to me about maybe some wrinkles out of it. Talk to me about what you see when you're looking at it.
Okay, I think that most of the game was run to take this type of advantage, because if you have seen other clips, also Jay Rich is coming. Actually, I think also McDuffie has been taking advantage like that. I think at least 10, 12 points have been taken in this way. So it's important also to have a big man like Zerini, because Zerini is a really great screener, not as skillful. But he's a really strong screener. So in this type of situation, we always want Parks here to curl. Actually, he curled also pretty late, because here he could have done it a little bit better.
I agree.
Yeah, he could have gone. Also, because have you seen how Zerin is changing his angle of screen?
Yes. So if you don't catch...
here you have also a situation that cannot even help on the strong side, because you have Velichka on the strong side, which is a great shooter.
Interesting. Smart. I like it. If you don't get this initial curl off of the up the gut action that I call it, what's next? What's the bailout? How do How do you continue to play from there?
Yeah, their McDuffie is going to have an handoff with Velichka, which is coming out of the handoff, and then Zerin is coming up for a Spanish pick and roll. So it's like handoff and screen.
Love it.
And pick and roll.
Love it. It's definitely an action that I'm going to steal. I like it under there for sure. I think it catches people off guard. And like you said, I think it was also like 8 to 12 points in the game that you guys got off of this. Just
That's true.
Nice tight ones there for sure.
Actually, if you see most of the sets in the half court, they've been running on this type of screen or a screen like we saw in the first clip, like the big man going on the opposite side to screen for 2.
What would you call this kind of screen? Would you still just call this a pin down, even if it's in the center of the floor like this, or?
Well, as a terminology, yeah, I would use pin down.
Yeah.
But we want our player to curl. So in a pin down, you don't have this forced curl. So
love it.
Do anyone have any suggestion for terminology?
Anybody? I think this is just a pin down, like up the center of the floor. So like this.
It's a gut screen.
It's a gut screen.
Gut screen.
Interesting.
Location matters. That's all. Sorry.
Yeah. Horns, get, twists, and a 45 cut. So I think the interesting one to me was if the 45 cut was an automatic. So for anybody who's listening, it's a horns action. The guard goes and gets it back. They run it to the offensive left side of the floor. When he gets it back, they twist the screen, so it's a rescreen, and he's going towards the center of the floor, and then the gentleman in the next slot or on the 45 automatically cuts to pull his man out of help there. And the guy who handed it back actually ends up rolling. So you get 2 going to the same spot, puts a lot of pressure on the paint. We get a little drop off to the gentleman who rolled, and we finish for a layup. But my question is the 45 cut, so this one right here, is this an automatic for you guys on any sort of attack middle, or is this a good player just making a good play type deal? Or in your opinion, is he clogging things up and doesn't need to be there?
Well, if it would be me, it would not cut there because it's clogging, as you said, the way for our roller, which is a great roller. So what he does best. And also here, you have seen a lot of 1-2 pick and roll with Velichka and Zerini. So, and also he's a shooter. It's McDuffie, so I would be out or set a screen for the corner player.
For you, would you move him in this direction then, so that he?
Yeah, to go to screen to the other in the corner, so you keep the defense occupied and you have 2 shooters free.
Love it. It's a good set. I like it. We go into a bit of full court pressure against you guys here. You ended up getting the lead. It's in the second corner, and you break it easily. I'm wondering if in your scout you contained anything about, they're going to press at certain points and what to expect. And then I liked the way that you guys flowed from the full court pressure to attacking right away. And I was wondering if you knew if any of your practice time sort of works on that transition from the full court pressure into a half court set. Because I find at the level that I coach, a lot of guys, once there's full court pressure and they break it, they don't know what to do once they get over half court. So for anybody who's listening, 1-2-2, they break it fairly easily, and then they give it back to the point guard, and they basically go into same idea where it's a horn set, and they roll the first, and then the point guard just gets into the paint attacking to his right. So talk to me about everything here. Sorry, Cristian.
No worries. Actually, playing against Treviso, we have faced this previously. And also, it's like if you see some minutes ago, I think at the beginning of the second quarter, they start with a steal on that. Actually, it was a loose ball of Mayo because they started this 1-2-1-1 full court pressure, and then we had a lost ball on that action. So
Right.
actually, this is with the Velichka on the court, which is a greater passer. Also, you can see the court. Is a general of the court. It's way different than Mayo, which is a real shooting guard that plays as a point guard. So it's also who is playing against. I would, to answer to your question, I would make it conceptual. I would not waste so much time on that. And if the players, they already know how to move, actually you can see also, you don't have this clip. Previously on the loose ball, there was first the loose ball, and after a few minutes, they run perfectly with a cut. If you put the clip back, I will show you. I will.
Which one? Sorry.
Yeah, go on this clip from the beginning. All right. Yeah, here, stop. Okay, here, the other guard that right now is not in the picture, that now he ran away, mostly starting where the guy that made the inbound was. And then from there, would cut over the second player that is going to make the double team here. Here also, there's kind of a mistake of the defense because they're waiting too much after the second dribble of Velichka. So here he gave him the time to see where to pass the ball and didn't give any time to the defender, which is here behind to help. He doesn't have any clue where to go because they're breaking the timing of the defense. It's easier.
It's a split. Yeah, like this guy has no chance to guard both.
Yeah. He has no chance to guard anyone. So actually the timing of the two guys in front, they had to go on the first dribble of Velichka.
So if you were going to make it conceptual, if the offense was yours, how would you build that? What would be your first teaching points? And then how would you sort of build upon that? What would you throw in there?
Well, I can tell you a little bit how I do it with my youth teams, which is at the beginning when I'm putting defense there and then making them find the solution. Then after the first part, we're making a feedback where everyone has a saying on how in which zone of the court they have to run and take the ball. So, and it's actually I'm trying to give them this idea, to put up what they think about and to move regarding to that. But then I'm highlighting if someone is going out of the road. I'm trying to make them think what would be the best to overcome this full court pressure and then go to play offense game like they did here. They already knew to play the set afterwards. So it's kind of a process because when you get in some, I think also at your level, when you get some problem about that, you have to start making it in some practices. So it's not going after the first practice you tried.
Right.
And yeah, so yeah, that would be my idea. Here, obviously, they have roles and they know already where to put themselves. And after losing one ball and after they run this 1-2-1-1, this is the third time they run it in this game. I think they already knew where to put themselves.
I got one more question about this clip. I know that we're definitely spending some time on it. So we get the horn set, we come out, they roll. After the tag happens, though, your screener, he basically Gortat screens underneath. So for anybody who doesn't know, Gortat screen is rolling onto your own guy and sealing him so that this guard can get an angle and go and finish. Do you guys teach that, or is that just a good player making a good play?
You teach that. You definitely teach that also because if you see the kind of movement is the same as if Velichka here was going to pass the ball up on the key on the top of the key and to receive the ball. So it's the same movement. It's sealing to get that space. That is the big advantage to take care of. So yeah, of course, we need to teach our big men, the few of them we have, to go and run. How you call it? He said it's that.
What was
the terminology?
Gortat, like so after Marcin Gortat.
Yeah.
So he's probably, in your opinion, more likely sealing and hoping for the
Yep.
reverse pass and enter that
Yeah.
way, like a high-low. And then
Yeah.
just he's in good position, so he manages to hold it type deal.
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. My note on this is up to touch in the center of the floor. The reason being was that, and maybe you could tell me if this is just a missed coverage now that we've talked about hedging, but this one looked like you guys kind of changed your coverage in the middle of the game here. So it was really more of an up to touch than like a high hedge, and you go under with the ball defender. Do you think that was an audible throw in the middle of the game, or did you just not execute a coverage properly here?
I think depends on who was on the court and who you're playing against, because you have Zerini here, which is really great at doing touch and escape.
Right.
And instead with Delegar, you cannot do that. And also that plan, it was against Russell. It was against the point guard, which is really dynamic on that kind of pick and roll. Instead here you have Solokowski, which is not that mobile as a Russell. So I think it was a good call here. It was not improvised. I think with Zerini and Velichka, you're gonna see that more often also later on in the game.
Love it. So then this brings me to a question that I ask often. So for you, if you have your own team, are you, if you imagine a spectrum, right? And at one end of the spectrum, you're a specialist. You only do one type of coverage, but you do it really, really well. Mm-hmm. And at the other end of the spectrum, you're a jack of all trades. You're willing to do every type of coverage. You expect your guys to know how to do everything. Where do you sit on that? And if you're more towards the we do everything, how do you implement that?
Well, that depends on the type of level you're coaching. I mean, if you have professional players here in the first league, and you know that some players they are 32 years old, and you want to teach them how to make something different than a drop coverage that they've been doing for all their career, good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. Of course, I always believed, also as a philosophy, that us as coaches, we have to adapt to the players we have, unless we're not coaching youth, because there you can demand more, because you need to prepare, you need to develop a player with all the weapons that he can have. And I think, Mike can be the best to tell you that, because he passed from being with the youth in elite academy, and now is with the senior team. So
right.
I think depends also the type of team you have. If you have a young team, for example, when I was with the first league women, the average of age was 19. So there you coach them to do whatever you ask to, because they're not these navigated players that they do one thing all their career. So I know that my answer is going in the middle, but with the top team, I would say I'm going with what they're good at. On the young team, I'm going on the opposite side. So it seems a little bit we're transformist, as coaches. We have to adapt to what we have. Yeah, we can have our own philosophy and our ideas, but we have to adapt to our material.
So would it be fair to say, in summary, that you would expect players at higher levels to be able to do more, unless they are players that have been doing one specific thing and that's brought them great success for a long period of time? Would that be a
I expect, yeah. Go again, because this is tricky.
So you would expect, I would think, that like a pro player should be capable of doing more than a younger level, obviously, unless that pro player is a pro player because they do one thing very well and have been doing that one thing for a long period of time. And then we have to game plan around that. And we should know that, hey, this guy's only going to play drop. That's all he's going to do. That's what's going to happen.
Also, because if you ask him to do something different, I told you 32, 35, unless he's not, look, Now we open another discussion. It's also about being coachable. If you're at 32, you have a champion that he knows. You have Kyle Hines that is doing whatever you tell him to do in order to win the EuroLeague. Well, it's like it's the pleasure for every coach we have, and that's more about what you have. It's more about the material you have.
For sure. I like those tangent discussions, though I can spend a lot of time on those for sure. The next one was the start of the second half, I believe. I thought this was a really good ATO that you guys ran coming out. So it's like a horns and then and over the top, like an Iverson screen, we enter to that right side. And then you get the same idea, but instead of the up the gut action where it's a pin down, now it's a back screen, almost like a cross screen, same effect. And then they throw it in, you get a nice little dump and one finish there. So obviously it's a wrinkle of the other set. Talk to me about what you see, how efficient it was run, like what you like about it, etc. And how much personnel matters for sure.
Yeah, well, I think the play is run well also because you have to see that it's the beginning of the third quarter after being up. The second quarter has been the most scoring quarter. So you get back on the court and you want to do something different to take advantage. And actually, I think that works pretty greatly because it would have been the same pin down, to get J Rich to get out, but probably they've been prepared all the second quarter. It's like when you make a timeout and you change defense. And here it's great also the timing because as you can see, the defender Bortolani there, he doesn't know if he has to stay more or not. So it's something that they were not prepared for. So that's all about, the ITO, after timeout.
Love it. Love it. Nice little piece of coaching in there. I thought it was great. I thought there was a really tough action to guard in here is what my notes say. Give me 1 second here. So we got a horns action with a rub screen, but it turns into a split on the other side. So it's a horns back screen, and then the back screener comes over top, which puts immense pressure on the person who's guarding that forward. He gets over top of that handoff and he's got a nice shot. Good look. They end up missing, fortunately. But talk to me about this action. Would you have it scouted? And in an ideal world, how would you like to guard it?
Well, okay. Here, I'm a big fan always of pressure on the first pass. So I would not make on a horn set. Like if you have seen the first clip, like the first game action, it was a steal ball from Treviso. It was pressure on the first horn set. They stole the ball and they went to dunk.
Right.
That's the idea that I would give personally on the defensive end. And then there, after he receives the ball, which will be tough and probably out of position, then you can also see here to make a switch because there are two guards and there are Bortolani and Sobolowski, which are also pretty similar. Also, the defenders are Parks and Josh Rich, which they can have made that. But what if the shot is for Sokolowski there? I would really make a switch there and then follow and probably gonna deny also.
Love it. This is good action. I agree the guard switch would be
also nice. Passing behind is not a choice there. It's just you recognize later the action. Yeah.
And that's the thing is too, is that like what I was gonna say is that guard switch is beautiful, but I think a lot of the time you're not going to recognize this action as being something that's switchable with the speed that he's coming off, and then the sit behind is going to be there a lot.
Well, if you cannot switch there, at least to follow closely because you have a shooter there, you cannot leave him open passing behind. That's the mistake, the biggest mistake in this action. So that's what I would do.
Transition 3, this one I ask every week. So you guys bust out and pulls up in transition and shoots the 3. Are you okay with it? And, what's your personal philosophy on it if it's your team? And who can shoot it if you're okay with it?
Well, is Jason Rich 46% from 3 points?
That's
I'm
it.
paying you to do that. No, Look, I don't know. I would consider myself more of a running gun guy. So I don't know. I love that. It's not obviously if you're gonna go with the big man doing that, that's different. No, but in this case, you have a shooter that is running the floor and not stopping the ball. Yeah, it's all right.
Love it. Love it. I personally like them. I think they're good shots. I don't think everybody can get them. I just
Yeah.
like the question. I go back to it every week for sure because
How is it?
here's
It's a rock shot.
it's I mean, certain guys can shoot it, certain guys can't. If they're
Yeah,
square,
yeah, of course. But
I
also
mean,
you know that the professional player, he knows that he's not a shooter. He's not gonna shoot that. He's gonna go all the
right.
way. So it depends also the tendencies. Jason Rich is 46% from 3-pointer.
Let
Of
it
course,
fly.
yeah, let it fly. Three is better than two there.
That's it for sure. This one was multiple coverages within one set. So this goes back to the spectrum. So you go under on that one. There's a handoff to the other side. So we go under on that. Then
Yeah,
we go back and rescreen it. So on the twist, we switch.
yeah,
Then we put the ball back to the center of the floor and we're in a drop and over, which turns into a veer switch. And then he shoots sort of like a little fadeaway and ends up making it against the switching big. So, talk to me about the ability to have multiple coverages, and if, in your opinion, you guys did a good job here and they just made a hard shot.
well, I think also in the choice at the beginning, here also with the switch, I think it was a great job. Obviously, at that point of the view screen, that view switch, you have to be there. So I think I will run it kind of the same also because we have Henry Sims out of the paint, which was our biggest challenge. We don't want him to be inside because he's a very efficient player and so, yeah, I would run him probably the same way. Probably switching on the first handoff, but because we have Jason Rich and it's Sparks there. But that's my personal opinion. In all the sets, Sparks and Rich they never switch. So that's
Interesting. On the veer switch,
yeah.
how do you teach it? Is it the big man to tell the other guy to stay up, or is it the ball defender saying I can't get back that causes the veer to happen?
Big man to talk.
Big man saying
Say,
stay up,
yeah,
I got it.
I'm here. He's not gonna shoot. I'm here. Yeah, that's also about communication and motivation, which it's like the communication to say I cannot reach there, you take him. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. I think on the real switch, always the big man is the one to take this initiative and stay there on the ball.
So it's interesting, and the reason I say it's interesting is many coaches have told me that they want the ball defender to say something, right? And
Yeah.
what I find interesting about that is I played second base. I was a pretty good second baseman in baseball. And there were many times where I knew I could get a ball going back over my head, but the right fielder would be coming towards me. And if he calls me off, he's got a clear vantage point of it, right? He's looking at everything. So
Yeah.
his angle is better. Like
You
even
can
if I
see.
catch,
Yeah.
yeah, even if I catch that, I'm going over my shoulder. I've got to pivot and turn around to throw the ball. I think it should be the big guy because I think he has a really good vantage point of, okay, this guard's coming at me. You just go up. I can contain this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a hard shot at the end of the day, right? He cuts off the penetration.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a hard shot.
He scored is all right, but he played good defense. He was there, and I'm pretty sure Elegar was ready to take it.
Yeah. I got three more clips. Christian, you good on time? You gonna make it? Perfect.
I'm still awake.
All right, perfect. Ghost empty DHO roll is what my note was. You guys are sidelined out of bounds. Last 3 minutes of the third quarter, you're up 11. So we ghost that first one out, and then on the ghost we hand off to the corner, and this becomes basically the equivalent of an empty side pick and roll. Talk to me about the action. Would you only run it out of an ATO? How do you think they ran it? I think this is really good work. Personally, I actually run this exact set with a youth team. And also talk to me about that screen. that handoff that was
that screen is called experience, Menelik.
there you go. It's called get in the
screen
gym,
is called
sir.
experience. Look, here I think also on this type of solution, you want Mayo to take the pick and roll from the beginning, or you want J Rich to create a shot, to be honest. So
Right.
the fact that the defender of Zerini fell, it was the only way that Zerini could get that ball. But yeah, of course, the screen was tough, and then he got a good highway to the rim. And as you can see, also Mayo is always on the other side. So here, most of the time when Zerini is going for this type of short roll, he's always popping out the ball. So
And
that's a
you
situation where
personally,
all the skills that every player has can, they're doing what they're doing best.
yeah, well, I mean, first of all, look at this pass. This pass is incredible. Left-handed.
Yeah. Also
Right.
risky.
Yeah.
If you see the guy there, the last guy took over Zerini, he was on that passing lane. So yeah.
Love it. But you're okay with ghosting with a big man. I know some people don't like ghosting a non-shooter. You think this action is okay? Always automatically followed by, playing into the handoff, I would assume.
Yeah. If you have that type of big man, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of this guy, like it depends on the guy. Yeah. If I have that type of guy, I'm running by that.
Perfect. Two more. This one, my note was attacking very aggressive coverage. So we bring the ball over, they're trapping almost at the offensive right slot, gets pretty high. And then this is a hell of a pass that's very risky, where he basically throws from half court with a right-handed hook to the right person, but it's a rainbow, and it manages to make it over.
Lucky.
Yeah. And then we end up with the corner three out of it. But talk to me about the aggressive coverage. What would you like to see him do to be able to counter it? What would you like to see the rest of the guys on the floor do to counter it?
Well,
If anything different.
Yeah. As a coach, I always here there is Russell, which is the league leader for steals. So first of all, we know that when you have Russell on, is like you're gonna probably go for a trap because he has to steal the ball. So in that case, I would first tell Velicka to not go to any close to the lines, to the sidelines.
Right.
And then of course we have Zerini there that could have solved all the problems, but instead he is a guy that is a doer, and he went directly to screen on the other side.
Right.
And if you see 1 second before of this trap, Zerini is wide open there.
Yeah.
And then he's giving his head, he's giving his back to the player. And above all, when you have this type of trap, you have Marini here on this corner, the closest corner, so the strong side guy that could have popped up a little bit to receive. Yeah, because they started with the two guys in the corner. So I could have just come help and then give back the ball, and probably the trap was not going to happen.
Like it. Good counter. And then
also we have Zerini. If Zerini receives in the middle there without giving the shoulder to the ball, here there is an advantage where you can lead to this type of shot that happened right after.
Well, you're basically 4-on-2 at that point, because this defender sort of forgot about what he was doing, right?
Yeah.
Love it. This is quite a pass. I can't believe this got through.
Velicka is quite a player.
Yeah.
Actually, he started really bad season. It was in the preseason I've been watching. I think in 2 games he shot 0 out of 12 from 3-pointer. No. Yeah. They were talking about cutting him, and then in 1 game he won it by himself without any all injured J. Rich Parks, and he won the game by himself. So
nice. We'll end it here. This was just what I thought was a beautiful sideline out of bounds for you guys. I'll run it once. Everybody can see. I mean, that's monstrous. So it's fourth quarter, 2 minutes left. We're sideline out of bounds. We're on the side closest to the camera. We've got a cross screen underneath followed by a cross screen up top. And after the cross screen up top, that player,
to big man. Yeah.
pardon me, Christian, sorry.
There is a guard screen to the big man.
Yeah,
It's a
and then
back screen.
we get a guard forward rip or a guard center rip, and he's just over top, forget it, no chance. You know, you're too small, you can't get up there. Big man's trailing type deal. So I just thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, I personally love it. I personally love it also because if you don't have the alley-oop for the big man, you have a Mayo coming out of a clearly three-pointer for him, which is a good shooter. So
right.
you have two of the best solution you can have here.
Do you use the strong side corner as a safety at all type deal if you can't get either of those actions?
I will not.
No.
Not personally.
No.
Not a big fan.
Got it. Well, that's it. That's what I got. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to stop my video. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to jump in and ask
Thanks
away.
to you, Menelik, first of all.
Pardon me? Sorry?
Thanks to you.
Oh, my pleasure, Christian. As I said, I've been an admirer from far for a while. I definitely have been following your career. We have many mutual friends, but I appreciate you being able to take the time, sit down, and all the coaches that are on, you know, love you guys. Hope you continue to find value in this. You know, it's obviously a terribly niche show, but I really enjoy learning from coaches. And Christian, I think you're actually the first. No, that's not true. I've obviously had Lamar Barrett on, who is an NBA scout, but you're the first scout who is also still coaching currently and making the back and forth between the two. So, you know, I appreciate hearing your perspective. Obviously, lends a different vantage point than what we've been doing recently on the show. But I think that's pretty much all I've got. Thanks again for your time. I'll stop the recording. Hang out for a minute or two afterwards and let me know what you think. But ladies and gentlemen, Cristian Narciso, thank you.
Thank you, Menelik. Thank you for having me.